We really appreciate. I do appreciate our entire team, our program. Appreciate first and foremost our student body. Last week was phenomenal. All of our fans, but as well as our community. I mean, I know it's some people are overblowing it. I don't think we really are. But after what happened last year, and to not have that atmosphere, to not have that support, and then to come out the way we did, the way they did this past week, it was phenomenal, and it was really a shot in the arm for our guys. I know they were excited to play, but I think they might even been more excited just about having that atmosphere of everything that was going to go on. We did what we were supposed to do. And I think that's where I'm happiest for our team. We started fast, like we really kind of said we needed to do. We played clean for the most part, especially in the first half. I think really our only penalties, I think maybe we had a holding call, ball kicked out of bounds, but for us to be able to play cleaner, a few things happened down there at the end, but that was a big deal to us. And then obviously to show respect for the rivalry. Everybody thinks, you show respect from the rivalry just by winning. That's not the case. That's by the way you play, too. There wasn't a lot of trash talk. There wasn't anything like that. We challenged our guys, or I challenged them to really let their play stand for what it is that, that we do and what we stand for, and, not about, some of the mouthing and different things like that. And I was really happy that they believed in that. They trusted that. They did that. Now we got to move on. I think that's our biggest thing is each and every week, can we quiet the noise, do what we do, and move on and focus on, Murray State. A lot of guys who might not know exactly who they are, what conference they're in, this, that, and the other thing, but that's not a big deal. I think for us, we've kind of started in camp. We take nothing for granted and leave nothing to chance. Doesn't matter who you play, doesn't matter what it is, what the situation, who's going to be in there. We got a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. So sometimes it's not just who your opponent is. It's just even early in the year, by nature, they can take some things for granted. And all of camp, that was kind of been, they take nothing for granted, leave nothing to chance. We don't want to leave any stone unturned based on how we prepare, the things that we do going into a Saturday. Everybody, it's not just about the results. It's about a lot of the things that go on the entire week to really saying, hey, you're going to be consistent and play your best ball at the end of the year. Questions?
With so many forward guys, so you don't even have to have that conversation of, hey, don't get caught looking ahead.
No, I mean we do. I mean we got to do it with our coaching staff too, just in general. That there's an objective each and every week, and more than anything, I don't care what week it is. You can get caught, staring at an opponent when it's a different week, in 3 and 4, or you get into league and different things like that. But I think for us in general, that the idea is take nothing for granted. Not just the kids we have, the players we have, but take nothing for granted. How quick those things can change, one injury. So it's about making sure that the preparation of things that you're doing, and for me, this is the weeks where I challenge them more than ever. Just to make sure that they understand it's about the energy and the execution and everything we do.
So I was on Murray State's call, and their coach was talking about the depth of this team. And it's not like Cincinnati teams in the past. I've been around this team for 35 years. I've never seen this, the depth. Is that a credit to recruiting, development, finding the right guy who can buy in, or is it all of those things?
I think it is all, but I think it starts with recruiting and not just the stars, but recruiting the right ones. Because if you can recruit the right ones, you can retain them. And when you can retain them, then you can develop them. And I really believe the whole program is based on development. What Coach Brady and them do in the weight room, the core and the nucleus to what we have been as a coaching staff hasn't changed. We've lost coaches here and there, but the core and the nucleus. So things continue to grow as opposed to each and every year something new. So with that being said, I mean, you can't grow unless you can retain as well. And if you don't recruit the right ones, then it's really difficult when things don't go well. And I'm not just saying wins and losses. I'm saying maybe you don't play right away, this, that, and the other thing. And when you can't retain them and keep them here for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and 6 in some cases, it's really hard to continue to grow and especially to build the depth.
Played starters on both sides into the fourth quarter against Miami. Was that the plan? Did you have kind of a hope of when you might be able to?
Well, no, look, we take nothing for granted. You have a plan. I think what you saw maybe is that we have a lot of 1As and 1Bs, and sometimes those guys want to continue to play, and we say make some substitutions. The next thing you know, you still got a Curtis Brooks out there, and you still got a Jabari Taylor out there, and they don't want to come out. And so you love that. Then also you say, well, we didn't get some of those other guys as many reps as you'd like to have. But I think that's a credit to those guys. Not, they respect the rivalry. They want to continue to play. They want an opportunity, especially, in week one, and especially with the atmosphere and the things like that. Would we have liked to have had Evan Prater in there for a couple more series? Yeah, I would have really liked to have given him an opportunity to have a few more series. And maybe hindsight we could have or should have. But things worked out the way they did, and I love it when guys are wanting to go in the ball game and you can't take them out, as opposed to the other way around.
Do you have a number in your head, like we're up by this amount with this much? That's when it's
No, it goes a lot to the feel, and it's there's a healthy respect, with a guy like Majay Sanders who wants to be in the game. He didn't want to miss a practice. He missed one practice in camp. And, we almost pretty much had to hold him out because he had a little bit of a tweaked ankle. And he said, no, I'm going. And we said, no, you're sitting. And for a guy like that to have the healthy respect to say, hey, okay, I'm good. I want those other guys to get some of these opportunities as well. That's another one of those things where you just look at your program and say, okay, I feel good about, where the leadership of this program is and how that's going to all tie us together this year. And we've said it a million times. It's not, we know what players we've got. We don't really know just yet what kind of team we've got until we continue to grow.
Evan had the touchdown where he flipped over. Dad said if he ever did that, you got some choice words for him. Is that the case?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I'd like to have had a few choice words for Evan had he not had something happen in that first throw of his career. I'm not sure that he would have had the opportunity to kind of let it loose and let it fly. And so hindsight now, I'm happy that it kind of happened the way it did. I don't like it, but I think what it did is it fueled a little competitive nature within him, and we gave him the opportunity to go out there and play ball. And a lot of people would say, why would you do that? And so I was holding my breath as he kept running, but there was something we needed to see inside of him. He hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities to go out there, and for him to have the respect for the rivalry, but the respect for the game and his teammates, to not want to, I would say end, but have your first go-around be a pick six, and he wanted to come back out there, compete like he knows he can, and show not just his teammates but everybody his passion for the game of football.
On the broadcast, your buddy Bobby Parker was giving you a hard time, but on that play specifically, he said, you can teach a quarterback mechanics and different things, but whatever he did on that play, you can't teach it. Not just athletically, but to have the guts to do it. Is that?
I think that's where I came out of the game with, and had he thrown a ball and two and handed the ball off a couple times, and maybe pulled one and ran around the edge, and you wouldn't have seen, it could have ended it 35-7 or whatever, and maybe I'd have walked out there with a little better feeling. Only gave up 7 points, but we wouldn't have really seen, I think, the competitive spirit behind Evan Prater. And a lot of really positives, a lot of things we can grow on from the game. But one of the biggest takes for me is I don't know that I've ever really seen that, because he hadn't been put in a situation, the true competitive spirit to say, I'm going to let it fly. And if that means me pulling it and running it, that means me throwing it, that means me going over top of somebody to go in the end zone. I'm glad he didn't get hurt, but I'm even happier to see that passion's there.
Without taking anything for granted, this week, hopefully another chance to get him some longer looks?
We don't know. I mean, they will make you challenge you, and if we are able to execute, then hopefully we can. And we talked about it this morning in the staff meeting, that I thought what the offensive line did the best job of any unit is they had a plan going in. Not that you expected to be up. You don't ever know that you're going to score the first 3 drives, but they had a plan in drive 2 that they were going to switch tackles, in drive 3 they were going to switch guards. And I think out of respect for the guys that we got, regardless if it's this week, it's next week, whatever, you got to have a plan going in. And I don't know that we would do that at quarterback, but a lot of other positions that you got those 1Bs, you'd say, hey, okay, in the third series, Jaheim Thomas is going in. And, in series, 3, we're putting in Bumpus and Shep. Maybe not at the same time, but, and I think if we put that in place, it doesn't have anything to do with what's the score of the game. You're kind of putting guys in some situations where you're going to give them some opportunities. Maybe it's 0-0 still. Maybe you're down 7-0. But if you still stick with it, you'll show the respect for them and the confidence you have in them as well. And a couple of years ago, we were forced to do it, and we just happened to find a guy named Ahmad Gardner because we said we have got to roll early in the UCF game. And just so we don't get to the third or fourth quarter and be completely wore out, especially on the edges. And because of that, we fell into giving a guy an opportunity that has become a pretty darn good football player for us. And I'm not sure we would have known that and maybe until the next year. So all things I think we can continue to have plans for, whether it's this week, next week, or the following week.
Speaking of, how did he feel about the lack of attention over on his side of the field?
It's always difficult, but there's a point in time when they're going to, and you just don't know when that is, and that's why that position is so unique. There's so many different things that goes through the minds of those guys that are out there on the edges, on the corners. But sometimes I just try to remind him it's out of respect sometimes, that there's not as many shots maybe taken at you out of respect. So do not, get frustrated. Don't let your guard down. Just keep doing what it is you're doing. And for us, I think we got to find some ways to make sure we can keep him involved. If that means, blitzing, if that means moving him around a little bit, I think we will continue to find ways to give him some more opportunities to have some action if by chance people don't want to throw it his way a bunch.
How about Maite on the other side of the coin, where they just, have, 2, 3 all day long?
Yeah, I don't. You don't ever really know what their plan is, but they did a lot of FSL, formation to the sideline. Was that trying to expose something in the boundary, or was that your ability to keep your protection to the field? I know more Max Pro, more chips off the field side edge. And for me, just like I said earlier, I think for what I saw out of Maje is his ability to not be frustrated with that is a big step from where he was as a sophomore, even as a junior, recognizing and realizing that there's probably going to be more of that than he's seen in the past. And how will he handle that? How will we handle that? What do we need to do to try to adjust and change some of those things up? But all again, maybe some things that are out of respect.
Is there anything changing with the defense this week, considering no takeaways last week? Is that something that you're kind of focusing on?
No, I don't think that those games when all of a sudden you have a bunch of them, you have 4 or 5 that you didn't do anything different other than continue to emphasize the aggression, run to the football. Opportunities were there. There were opportunities there. We just didn't do a great job. There were some tips and overthrows that we should have or could have had an opportunity to get. There was, I think Kobe, knocked a ball loose and it bounced right back up to him. 2 other times he had to actually strip at it, but it didn't come all the way out. So there are some opportunities that were missed. I think there were a few us missing match in the hand and some things that we do on the quarterback, but not putting an overemphasis. We'll continue to do what it is we've done and make sure we're better prepared when the ball does hit the ground.
There's got that one into the first half.
Supposedly afterwards or the second half, the official said that that should have been a fumble. I don't know. To be honest with you, I was kind of surprised that they took a shot at it, but I don't know that I watched it close enough to say it's close. But it's not like you're sending that in to get evaluated. So we just got to move on and know that close isn't good enough for where we are.
There's a lot of buzz and momentum for your team right now. You're a top 10 team. You finally got to have 40,000 in there sold out this weekend. There's also a report out that by the end of the week you guys are going to get an invite to the Big 12. What does all that buzz and momentum do for this program, and how much do you pay attention to all that?
Well, again, we can't let it distract us. It has no bearing on what these guys will do this weekend or what they'll do the following few weekends. But I think for the big picture of things, for our community and a lot of stuff like that, there can be some changes that could happen. But I'll probably look at it the other way. If things like that happen, how does that affect us now? What does that do within our league? How does that, jostle things based on what it is that we're doing. But I don't think we can get too tied up in it as a team. Now, as a program, as far as recruiting and different things like that, any buzz we're going to continue to use. And we know darn well that we believe we're a top 10 team right now. But in order to be that top 10 program, there's going to have to be a lot of growth for us as a team, us as a program, us as an athletic department to be able to sustain and maintain a lot of things as we move forward.
As coaches, do you guys just get blindsided by conference realignment and how it happens?
You know what? I said it whenever people were asking about the Texas-Oklahoma thing. I've not been in this business as long as a lot of others. Haven't seen a ton of the realignments. I guess when I was a player, some things happened, none of which of any of these things that there was any real, from what I heard, any like buzz about it before it happened. When the Texas-Oklahoma thing happened, it was a shock. I think even when I was in the Big Ten and they had those teams come in, it was a shock. I don't know that there was really talked about. So if this is legitimately true, it'll be a bit of a shock. I don't know that there's, has there been 5-6 months of work? Maybe, but if whoever's done it, it's kept a really good secret. So, again, how much does it affect us? I don't know. How much have I been involved in it? Absolutely none. Those are the things where you just say, hey, we got a lot to do with 125 guys, trying to find a way to mesh everything together. You got to trust and believe that the higher ups, whether the president, the AD, and them, if this is what's best and there's an opportunity, then I'm sure they'll be aggressive to do it.
Had some big blocks by wide receivers to score a couple touchdowns, and that did that a little bit last year. Is that a point of emphasis for you guys?
It is, but I mean that's like I said, one of those things I thought about, the respect of not just the rivalry, but of doing the little things and how do you take that group to the next level. It was the best downfield blocking that I've seen since we've been here. And that's not just the wideouts. The wideouts did a phenomenal job. You can see Charles McClellan, you can see Jerome Ford, guys, you can see Ethan Wright playing without the ball in their hand. Lenny Taylor on Jerome's big run. I mean, from the backside tight end, he's down ripping through the middle of the field safety, probably got him another 20, 25 yards. And so those kinds of things are where you feel like, okay, we're moving in the right direction. We talked about what turns a 15 or 12-yard run into a 30, 40, 50-yard run. It's all strain up front. It's all finishing down the field. And to be honest, as much as those guys have caught balls and as well as they've done in fall camp with Des being able to throw the football, I was most impressed with their willingness, their attitude, and their ability to block down the field.
Are you guys coaching that, or is that?
I think we've always coached it. I think that there's what Coach Brown has done in there is got an even greater buy-in. And I'm not saying guys didn't buy in before, but sometimes we're all that same way. We see better than we hear. And then once we all of a sudden start to see how things work and how it really can affect not just the game, but even their opportunities, when you're running the football that much better and they have to crowd the line that much more, maybe it gives those guys a little better chance to run by some people and not have as many guys underneath. So I think the maturity of what it is that we're doing, the buy-in, belief, and how you do it is becoming more evident, let's just say.
How do you feel that 1B played on Saturday, and particularly the offensive line?
I thought, like I said, we rolled in early. I will always kind of, the second half, I think that we didn't do as well of a job. I think when those other guys started to roll in there, I think some of the twist, they did a better job than what I thought. So some of their twists gave us some issues up front. But that's probably, if I would say what's the toughest thing about rolling guards and tackles, would be your ability to try to play side by side with each other and pass off twist games, because you got to be in sync. And when a tackle's playing with 4 different guards or 3 different guards, because it could be moving the right to left, it does probably make that a bit more difficult. So I think that's probably the one area where if we're going to be great, we got to clean some of that stuff up.
What was the sense in the locker room ahead of the game, knowing that fans back in the stadium for the first time for the freshmen this year, but the sophomores on this team too, they also didn't get to experience fans. Could you talk about the sense in the locker room, what it was like to have fans to talk around?
Well, we didn't talk about it, but you can just feel the energy. I mean, that's what's so hard. In week 1, you're playing a rivalry game, so the buzz and the energy which made me feel good because I knew before the game, even before the crowd, that they had shown the respect for what we were supposed to do and how we were going to prepare. But once you kind of took the field to kind of really get a sense and feel of what that is, because once you kick the ball off, that locker room buzz and that first game buzz and that rivalry, preparation, it kind of becomes all a part of the game now. And a lot of times in seasons, that's when the flatness comes after those first couple hits. But with the buzz in the stadium, I think that I really felt like there was no drop-off until the second half maybe. And that's a lot of being attributed to the student section, the buzz of the stadium, the feel that, not saying they missed from last year, but because I don't even know in 2 years ago that it was ever quite like that. I know UCF was really, special at night, but I don't know that it was quite like even that was.
Did that second play just kind of hit you like a tidal wave with the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we were going to take some shots. I didn't know exactly when, and you can't always take them unless you get the look that you want. But to see it the way it did and then for it to erupt like that, I think, that was probably a great contributor to the next two series as well.
We asked you at camp if Jerome was ready to step into that feature back role. You said, we'll see. One game in, are you ready to say he's ready to be that guy?
He had 12 carries. I don't know if you could ever say you're ready to be that featured guy with only 12 carries. Now, I wanted him to get 18 carries, but I think the way the game kind of worked, that in his 12 carries, we had probably seen what we needed to see. But you're never quick in this program to kind of throw a crown on somebody or to anoint them anything until, like anything, you do it over time. And he's done a great job, and his ability to do this thing over time, when it gets to a situation where maybe he's got to carry it 25 times a game, then we'll know even more about what it is that we got. But from what we've seen, I think that he is in a really, really good place, to help lead us to what we need to do.
11 different guys had a reception on Saturday. Does that almost give you some confidence when you look at your sideline and see that you can kind of plug any receiver and running back in there and they're going to be able to go out and catch the ball?
Yeah. That is a really good stat. That's a really good number. That's tribute to Desmond Ritter as well, that he has the ability to move things around. And what you don't want is to kind of get locked into that one kind of go-to spot, so people can kind of gang up. And obviously that core of those receivers, even the backs in the passing game, have done a phenomenal job. We've come an incredibly long way. But I think what it does show is not everybody talks about they talk about the growth of Dez as throwing the deep ball and, his accuracy and his balance. But the growth of Desmond Ritter of taking what is given to you is where the real maturity of a quarterback is shown. I'm sure he can nitpick and say maybe he missed one or two. I can only think of one in particular misread maybe where he had it, and one maybe slight overthrow to Alec Pierce. Everything else, I would say he probably was at least where he was supposed to be at that time, and that's, to me, rare as a quarterback.
Anything on Renfro?
Yeah, he played.
He's doing all right.
Played pretty well. Yeah. He's a good kid. It's only Tuesday. I had no idea. We haven't even had the report just yet, but
He had the block of the game, too. I forget it, maybe early second.
early on, the little drone play.
Rolled left and took a guy down.
Yeah.
Just a monstrous hole.
Yeah, he has obviously matured a lot even from last year, and is a really good football player. And I got the utmost confidence that we'll have him whenever we need him.